Hello and welcome to BFS Wargaming. So today we are here to talk about specifically the April FAQ that's coming up. If you don't know, there's an FAQ GW do now every April, every September, and then they'll do like a chapter approved in like November to December time. And these update the current rule set. Usually the points changes are in chapter approved, but in the past they have actually done points changes or changes to things that they felt needed to be done if it was bringing in balance to the game. So today we're going to talk about Space Marines, but more specifically Iron Hands. Not that I want to go on an Iron Hands hunt, but I do think there are things that need to be addressed, and so we're going to have a chat about it, and I'm hoping these are some of the things that GW are going to do. Remember, this is all just my opinion, so you know, I'd love to hear your opinions on what you think should be changed and what you think needs to be changed. But this is just what I think and what I'm hoping GW, some of these things GW do. So I'm going to as well say that I don't think Space Marines as a faction are broken. Like, I don't think they're like so good. I think that certain aspects of them maybe. I think there's some things in Iron Hand that need to be changed and looked at. But I do actually think since the Psychic Awakening books, all of the other factions have caught up quite a bit. And you are seeing in the tournament scene quite a nice variety now, apart from you are seeing far too many Iron Hands. But other than that, you're seeing quite a nice variety, you know, in 2020 of other factions such as Blood Angels, like you've seen Tyranids up there. So there is some of the other Dark Angels have been up there now. So there are other, I know they're still Space Marines technically, but they're not in the Space Marine Codex. So first off, what we'll do is we'll talk about Iron Hands first off. So we will talk about Fists as well a bit, because I think Fists as well as Iron Hands may be a little bit too strong. So Iron Hands stratagems, some of their stratagems I think are maybe a little bit too good. In my opinion, this is what is the problem with Iron Hands, if you just want to put it into a sort of big bubble, is basically they're as durable as Death Guard, but they're one of the best shooting armies in the game. And the thing that balances Death Guard is that Death Guard are very durable, but their shooting is not that good. So this then balances it out, because it takes a long time to kill them, but they're not killing you too quickly either. Whereas with Iron Hands, it takes them a long time to kill them, but they're killing you very, very quick. So they have that durability to hold objectives and all those sort of things, whilst killing you very quick. And most other armies don't have that sort of durability if they can kill quick. So there are some things, I think one, like if you look at the Chief Apothecary, so he gives everyone else a 6-up feel no pain. He gives Iron Hands a 5-up feel no pain because they already get a natural 6-up feel no pain. For me, this didn't need to be in there. It didn't need to be a thing, because for Iron Hands, they're still already getting a 6-up feel no pain. They already got quite a few things in their chapter trait. So they got vehicles get double damage for, double wounds on their damage table. So basically most of the time they're firing on their top tier. They get their Overwatch on a 5+, which just was not needed, in my opinion. I don't think, I mean, great, yeah, they've got the stratagem to Overwatch on +1, and that's what they should have. They should have been Overwatch on 6 and get +1 to Overwatch. And then they also get the 6-up feel no pain. So 3 very, very strong things there, and that's without bringing any of the doctrines or super doctrines or the other stuff that they can get. So for me, the Apothecary makes them very, very durable, when I think the 6-up feel no pain would have been enough. They still would be very, very good. So I would like to see that change. So they because the Apothecary can still bring models back to life and everything else. It just makes them a little bit less. We then have, I think Iron Father Theros is fine. It gives infantry a 5-up invulnerable save. Yeah, that's cool. Makes them really durable in that 6-inch bubble. Makes you want to have to take snipers, try and get rid of him. There's other very, very strong characters in the game that do similar things. Like if you look at Cryptex, they can give 5-up feel no pains for Necron Warriors and stuff like that. Sorry, 5 up invulnerable saves. So yeah, that's the first thing. Then if we move over to the character dreadnought, now I think the character dreadnought is fine. It's a cool thing. You can turn out a dreadnought into a character. I think it's some of the things you can then do around that, like the conjugated martyrdom stratagem. So if you don't know, it's basically you get shot at as a character. So this could be the character dreadnought, this could be an infantry character, any character. You get shot at, and then you can do all of your saves. So you can save your wound roll, you can save on your armor save, then you can feel no pains, anything like that. Then if the wound goes through, you can then put it onto an infantry model. You do have to play this at the start of the phase, so you have to sort of preempt it. So that is why probably it's this strong. But it does then make this very, very good against, like, if you just stick a Leviathan Dreadnought out there and stick other stuff behind cover that can't be seen, and it's like, oh, I've got to shoot the Leviathan, and you're just never going to kill it because of the -1 damage, which is a relic for Iron Hands, and then the Duty Eternal Stratagem, which is for all Space Marines, where you can half damage your Dreadnoughts, which is really, really nice. It's only 1 CP. I mean, I'm not sure if they might put that up to 2 CP because it is very strong, but I don't think they necessarily should, because I think it's only really, really strong in certain situations. I think it's a nice thing to make Dreadnoughts a little bit more durable. It's just the fact that Iron Hands have managed to make, because of the -1 damage. So what I think they should do with that stratagem, firstly, the -1 damage and the half damage from the Duty Eternal, those two things should not be stackable. You either get one or the other. That helps a lot. Just that sort of thing. The conjugated martyrdom stratagem, I think, should only be able to be played on infantry models. And also, with anything where you can take wounds, intercept hits, all that sort of thing for a character or anything, I think you should have to be, so this is with TOW drones and everything else, you should have to be between the firer, the person that's firing at you, and the model that's being fired at to intercept those. Because otherwise you can hide stuff which can't be shot behind scenery, and then they're just intercepting hits or whatever for models, and it doesn't make any sense at all. Because like the grot shield, they have to be in between, and that's how all of them should be. It stops people doing janky things. So yeah, I think I'm trying to think if there's anything else with the Iron Hands. So their super doctrine. So the Imperial Fists and the Iron Hands, I think one of the big problems is they get their super doctrine from turn 1, which makes them stronger than all the other Space Marine chapters, apart from Dark Angels, but I'm talking about the Codex. And I think that super doctrines, I think Iron Hand's super doctrine was too good as well. I think it should have just been move and shoot without penalty to heavy. There didn't need to be the reroll ones on top of that. Like with all the Space Marine rerolls anyway, I think that is just too strong. So it should have just been move and shoot without penalty to heavy weapons. I think that would have been great. It would have been really, really good on top of everything else Iron Hands have, and Space Marines in general. I think it would have been enough. Because I want them to change Iron Hands so they're not an auto pick, like, oh yeah, I can take them, and you know you're gonna, I mean, you still have to be a good player to win a tournament with them, but you can still take them and do far better than you would with, say, another army, just because they're so easy to play. And I just think that needs to be looked at. So I don't want them to be nerfed to the point where they're not good anymore. I want them to be good. I don't want it to see Iron Hands at the top of every tournament, and I don't think anyone else does, because we want to see variation. We want to see cool lists and cool things happen. You know, we want to see a Tyrannid list with loads of monsters, or a Tyrannid list with, you know, this big horde Tyrannid list. We want to see variation, and that's very hard when you're going competitive, because people find the maths and stuff, and it usually does come down to a few lists. But I still think good players can win with varied lists if they play with them a lot. Okay, so Raven Guard are obviously doing very well also in tournaments. They came second in the LVO, obviously by a very good player in Brad Chester. I'm not saying that anyone could have just taken that list and come second in LVO, not at all. I do think that Assault Centurions, and I think this is a fairly widely accepted fact, Assault Centurions are too cheap. So I think they're 42 points with Flamers and 52 points with Hurricane Bolters as well. I mean, that's insanely good. For how durable you can make them now and things like that, it is really, really good. So I think they need to be upped. I don't know how much. Obviously, I'm hoping GW looking at it, maybe 10 points, maybe 20 points. I don't know what. I think probably 10 points should be enough for each one. I think that should help balance that a little bit. Because I think if you look at the Space Marine Codex, you know, now everyone's getting these Psychic Awakenings. I think if you look, you know, the Space Marine Codex is now, obviously it's top tier. But if you up the prices of Assault Centurions and do a few other little changes, they'll still be top tier, I think, but they'll be top tier along the line with a load of other armies as well. And, you know, you never want to go into a game like against Iron Hands, like the LVO Iron Hands list, and think, I just can't kill these. They're going to get board control. I'm not going to be able to do anything about it, you know? So, obviously with Imperial Fist as well, with the +1 damage against vehicles and stuff, has become very, very strong. And they also have, you know, the Iron Hands Imperial Fist have a lot of, well, all Space Marines have a lot of ways to re-roll, but also +1 to ballistic skill, things like that to make their shooting more accurate. And I think there's an Imperial Fist Flyer list. There was an Imperial Fist Artillery list, which was really, really strong. Manny Chima was playing at the LVO. So yeah, it's things like that. Like, if you took... So my idea is to... No one gets their Super Doctrines turn 1, maybe even turn 2. But turn 1, I think definitely, because I think that can be so strong turn 1, having that Super Doctrine active. It really, really... you know... Like that out of line of sight list that Manny Chima has, that he took to the LVO, I mean, that could be half your army gone turn 1. Like, or more. Or half your points, or quarter of your point. You know, it's a lot to deal with. So, I think maybe something needs to be done about that. I actually think that anything that shoots out of line of sight, if they can't see what they're firing at, they should actually get have a negative modifier. On their shooting. So if they were shooting on a 2+, it should be 3+. If they were shooting on a 3+, it should be 4+. Because I just think if you're shooting at something that's not in your line of sight, it should be harder to hit. And on that subject, the Thunderfire Cannon Stratagem. I think the Thunderfire Cannon Stratagem should only be able to be played, should only be able to affect 1 unit per turn. Because you can shoot twice with a Thunderfire Cannon, and if you play that on that Thunderfire Cannon, then you can do 2 units. I also think it shouldn't affect the charge. Now, so to half move and half advance is really, really nice, and then it halves the charge as well, and I think that's too much. I think that's just too strong. And I think that should just be looked at. So, you know, when you're looking at Ultramarines, Salamanders, White Scars, these are the 3 chapters that are probably... I mean, White Scars are doing well, don't get me wrong, but they're the 3 chapters that are probably being used less. I mean, if you look at the LVO, 2 of the top players in the world took White Scars, which in Nick Nanavati and Nicholas Rose. Nicholas Rose, I think, got to the top 8. We got into playoffs for it. And Nick Nanavati, I think he lost his second game and then decided to just get drunk. But I think it goes to show you, you know, you've got a White Scars, 2 top White Scars players in the world, or 2 top players in the world playing White Scars, and, you know, one of them did very, very well, don't get me wrong, but I don't think White Scars by any stretch of the imagination are broken. I think Assault Centurions are too cheap for what they are, so I think you could make a very effective list, but it seems that the Raven Guard Assault Centurion list is the better option. So yeah, these are my thoughts basically on the Space Marines and what I think could happen come April. I think we could see a rise in Assault Centurions. I think we could see some, a fair amount of tinkering with the Iron Hands, which I really do think we need to see. I might not have even covered all of the things with Iron Hands, which makes them... Oh yeah, that was the other thing I was going to say about Vigilus, the Vigilus detachments. I don't think that Space Marines should have access, because we've got a whole new codex, we've got supplements, we've got loads of new rules. We shouldn't have access to the Vigilus detachment. Should have said, right, there's no, they're done. Only the other factions that haven't just had a new codex, like Orcs and the others, can use the Vigilus detachments. And when Orcs get a new codex, they shouldn't be allowed to use the Vigilus detachments anymore, because they'll have loads of new stuff. I'm not talking about Cycling Wagon, I'm talking about a new codex. Because you've got to remember, Space Marines are the only ones that have had a new codex. Sisters, but that was Sisters' first codex anyway, and I'm not even sure if they had a Vigilus detachment. I'm pretty sure they didn't. So I think that it would be... because I just think there's... The problem with Space Marines, the biggest problem I feel, is GW threw all these rules at us, and they didn't playtest it anywhere near enough. And I don't think they could have, because there's so many rules from different places. You're not going to see everything. And the clever people in Warhammer 40k, and there's a lot of clever people out there. Obviously, if you look at Richard Siegler, who won the LVO, and him and his Brohammer team, they literally sat there and they pulled everything from where they could to make this the ultimate army to win the ITC missions. And bravo, he done a brilliant job. And I'm not saying that you couldn't do that. Or you shouldn't be able to do that. I think that he will do that every year with whatever faction he thinks is strongest, and he will make whatever faction he thinks is best for those missions. But it shouldn't be as strong as what that army is. And I think with a few tweaks to the Iron Hands stratagem, some of the little, like the apothecary thing, some of the other things, just to tone them down a little bit. I think that they'll still be very, very strong, very easy to use, and I think it will be great for the game. And I think that's what we want. We want what's best for the game, to keep people playing, to keep people going to tournaments. You don't want to turn up at your local gaming club, or say if you like Iron Hands, say if you want to play Iron Hands, you're not, that is your chapter. You've loved them since you got into 40k, and you're going to your local gaming club, and no one wants to play you because you're playing Iron Hands. Which I'm sure does happen. So if they're just toned down a bit and they're brought back in line with Ultramarines and Salamanders and the likes of White Scars, Raven Guard. I think Raven Guard, if the Assault Centurions go up, they will become less effective. And they are criminally underpriced, so I think they will. But what I'm hoping is these things happen in April. Because obviously we don't want to wait until the end of the year for this to happen, because no one wants to see Iron Hands at the top. No one wants to see any army just constantly at the top of every tournament, because it's just boring. No one wants to see it. I mean, from what the community is saying, everyone's fairly sure that is what's going to happen in April. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think that some of the things I've said are just plain wrong, it shouldn't happen? Let me know your ideas. You might have a really good idea that I haven't thought of, or maybe you got some inside information, or whatever. Let me know what you think, and if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. We talk about Warhammer 40k. We're going to be doing some more Kill Team content, and we do battle reports as well. So thank you very much. We'll see you in the next one.